Hi everyone, welcome to the Superhuman Switch, a mind, body, business empowering podcast of high achievers guaranteed to switch your superhuman levels on. I'm your host, Safwan. You can call me Saf. Today I'm joined with Dr. Sarra Lajnef.
Al-Ajnaf, you said you're going to say it in Arabic, no?
Al-Ajnaf. Sarra Lajnef. We had a nice debate before we start about the family names, if we need to mention it in English or in Arabic. But,
we're Arabs, صح?
yeah.
We should be proud of our
Let's
language.
do that. And we want to kick it on with Arabic. But it's a pleasure to have you, Sarah.
Thank you, Saf.
Yeah. But first of all, tell me about the tan, because
do you like my tan? It's a burn. It's not a tan anymore.
When I opened the door, okay, something wrong, because only your face, the funny part,
Yeah, because I was wearing a wetsuit.
Oh, okay. So first, tell me about this, because I've been following your story.
Okay.
And there was an interesting, I would say, swim around Abu Dhabi.
Yes, yeah.
So first, let's start with this one. But before we start, actually, I would love to introduce you properly, because you are an Olympian and you have Guinness records and you have multiple champions. But yeah, please introduce yourself to the audience, because I'm really excited to hear your story.
Well, thank you. Hi, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. We're speaking Arabic a little bit. So, yes, you want me to introduce myself first?
Let's do it.
So, I'm Sarra Lajnef, and I'm Tunisian. I'm 33. I'm proud of my age. I live in Dubai. I've been living in Dubai for the past 10 years, almost 10 years in August, inshallah. I'm a swimmer, a triathlete, a rower. I lived a little bit around the world, left home when I was very young, at 15. Moved to France and then moved to the US. We'll talk about these details, but it's just like I'm giving you a brief now. Did the Olympics in 2012 in London. Was the first Tunisian to qualify, first Tunisian swimmer, female swimmer to qualify for the Olympics. I'm a master world champion 2015, 1 gold and 3 silver, and 2019 4 gold and 1 bronze. And then what else? Rowing, I've been rowing for the past 5 years, a little bit like on and off, but this season we went back because during COVID it was a little bit of a mess. But now I'm back into it, and I'm rowing for a local club here. Enjoying it, loving rowing, loving my swimming. It's my life. What else?
I don't know.
A lot of other things, but you know,
have a Wikipedia page, so Google her name, you will find out.
Well, I'm an African champion, Arab champion, what else? Junior Mediterranean champion, all of those in swimming, because I've been swimming since I'm 5 years old. And I did quite a long career with the Tunisian national team. And then I continued when I moved here to the UAE too. And that's how I got into triathlon, and that's how I got into rowing too. So, but yeah, a lot of small titles and big titles, but the most important ones are really the Olympics and the World Championships.
But they are all achievements that they are beyond. When I look,
Alhamdulillah.
I did a little bit of research, of course. It's that, okay, I don't know from where to start. That's why when I shared with you the brief, it's unfair, because I have a lot of details.
Yeah, we would spend the whole podcast talking about the achievements, but alhamdulillah, I'm really proud of everything that I've done. Sometimes you forget about the things you do unless you go and read them. Like sometimes people just tell me things that I've done and I forgot about them. And it makes me happy. It makes me proud that people know my achievements too. And it's not only because those are achievements or personal achievements, but it's really like to inspire other people, to just push other people to do things that they think they can't do. So it's really all about inspiring and motivating people to just push their limits, because we have no limits as humans. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, and God created us in a way that you never know your limit. Like you think you have a limit, and then you try to push it a little bit, and you can pass it, and you can pass it, and you can do things that you never thought you could do unless you try it. So yeah.
I love this. Take us back to
my face.
Okay, to the face first before we go back to the childhood.
Okay.
But the face. Let's start.
Yeah, briefly about the face. I'm burned today. I'm straight out of the water like a fish. He took me out of the water right away. So we did a swim around. So it was a challenge that has been in the making for a lot, like for couple of months now.
Okay.
It was so it's called Swim 62 AE. It's a swim around the island of Abu Dhabi. It's a 62 kilometers around Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
It involved a couple of different groups that has been part of this big challenge. The point of this challenge is really to bring awareness on water safety and wildlife in the water and inclusivity of different group of people that are living in the UAE. So my part in that swim was to lead the female group. We were 6 female. I was in the water with the group that has been like the main group that is swimming the 62 kilometers.
Okay.
And then I was just pretty much supporting and leading the female group. So I was in the water for 3.5 hours, the whole 3.5 hours.
In the middle of the day.
In the middle, from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. We had a portion to swim with the main group of swimmers. So we were 6 females. I was always in the water for 3.5 hours, and the females were changing every time and resting because they had different levels.
Yeah.
So I was there really mainly for safety and for just supporting that female group and the group as a whole. So it was really a nice swim. It was it was a change for me because usually as a swimmer, as a competitive swimmer, it's always about going fast and going against the time. But this one was not really about that. It was really about supporting each other, staying with the group, swimming in the same pace, even if it was like a lower pace than what I'm used to. But it was really important to just be in a group and supporting each other and being together there. And it was a different experience. But honestly, I learned a lot from it.
Okay.
And I feel like now I can do so many other things that I wasn't thinking about before, that I didn't think were probably possible, like, and doable. But now that I've seen this Swim 62, I'm like, oh my God, a lot of things now just line up and can be done. So hopefully...
It's every experience, I think, it put us in a total different trajectory.
Definitely. Especially if you see people who are not comfortable in the water and pushing their limits and going beyond what they think they can do. And then you'll be like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, I was there to inspire and to be inspired, and that's what happened. It's just it was really, really, really nice, and being involved with a big group. We had a group from the Abu Dhabi police, a group from the military, Al Jasmi brothers, and other like international swimmers. So it was really nice. I mean, hopefully they're gonna be like, if you follow the page is called Swim 62 AE. So there's like all the results are there. Everything that happened during 2 days on the 7th and 8th of March, everything is on that page, and people can follow it, can see it. So yeah, it's for a good cause. You know, it's always nice and very, very good when you're doing something for a bigger cause, for something that is bigger than yourself, bigger than what you've been doing, bigger than anything that you've done. And that's the most important, is really to speak about a cause and to try to put light on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Shout out for all the swimmers who took part in this.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm so proud of everyone. So proud, because I know all these different groups. I worked with them because, I mean, I was part of the Abu Dhabi police team as the female team because I work with Abu Dhabi as an external consultant.
Yeah.
So I was part of that team, and everyone that was in that team, they're like national team swimmers. They're all athletes. The military team also is the same. So it's so nice to see everyone come together from different backgrounds, from different entities, to just go and do something for a good cause.
Inspirational. Okay, take us back to the young Sarra.
Okay, is that the burn?
I'm going to swim now. It's like I'm going to the sea.
Honestly, Safwan, when I looked at my face, I'm like, oh my God. I wanted to be tan, but not burnt, because it hurts. It really hurts.
So, the young Sarra.
Sarra.
What put you in this space of sport? I'm interested to know.
Okay, many things, I think. I mean, since very young, I have 2 brothers, Osama and Hamza. Osama is older than me. He's 2 years older, and Hamza is 4 years younger than me. So I think my family is an athlete family. Both my parents are military officers. My mom was a runner. Both, yes. Okay. My mom was a runner.
Imagine the house.
You can imagine the discipline. But everyone... When I say my parents are like in the military, I mean, it was not. It was a normal family. Like I had a lot of love. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I mean, we had a lot of like love in the family, and I mean, we were expressing ourselves. It was not the military system inside the house, you know.
It's a joke usually, but
yeah, I know. But so they're both like officers. So I mean, sport was part of their like daily routine, let's say. But my mom was a runner. She ran like she was in the national team for a while, and then when she joined the military, she was just like running marathon with the full combat and with the weapons. And I saw my mom doing that, you know, since a very young age. And then my dad was a diver, so military diver, and he was doing like the parachutist.
Yes.
I don't know what is that called really.
Paratroopers.
And he was a swimmer too. So we were into sports since a very young age. Like my parents made sure that we get into sports from a very young age. And then my older brother, he had asthma when he was young, so the doctor said, I mean, I always say this story, and he calls me after every interview. He's like, okay, everyone knows that I've been asthmatic and I had asthma, but I'm like, this is a good thing. You're not.
Using him as a nice story. We feel sorry for you.
Anymore.
Not really. You're a champ.
But yeah, so like doctors told my mom to just take us to swimming because it's good for the lungs. Okay. It's good for that. And I was 2 years younger than him, so they took me along. When I was young, I didn't like doing anything except jumping in the water, in and out of the water. So whenever the coach says kicking, I start crying. And I was very little. I was like 4, I think, when they first threw me in the water.
Okay.
And I just like jumping like every kid, you know? Okay. So, but then I just fell in love with swimming. I mean, it was really a love since a very young age. And I started being very good compared to my age, started competing very young. I even wanted to do other sports. I was really a big fan of basketball.
Okay.
But I couldn't because I was already into competition in swimming, so I couldn't do both. Like my older brother started handball while he was doing swimming, because swimming for him was just like a treatment, kind of.
Yeah.
But he was more in love with handball, and then he actually continued into handball. He got into the national team, and he did a career in handball, and he's still a handball player until today.
Wow.
But then he stopped swimming when he started feeling better. Okay. For me, it was a different story. I started competing, I started winning, and then I was like, oh my God, I love this, you know? Even though I specialized in breaststroke since a very young age, and I hated everything else.
Okay.
but it was just like, it was from there. It
became natural part of your lifestyle.
It became part of my life and an essential part of my life. Like I tried to stop swimming many times, but it didn't work.
What did you try?
I tried in 2013, 2014.
Okay.
End of 2014. I stopped for like 6 months or even a little bit more. And then I went straight back into it. And yeah, so it's like, and it's been on and off for a couple of years, but I always go back. It's always something pulls me back to it. Yeah. It was like at different parts of my life, swimming was meaning a different thing. At the beginning it was part of my life. It was a hobby, and then it became a passion, and then it became something really essential because I was sent to France from a very young age because I was a good swimmer, because I performed at my age. So at 15 years old, when I finished middle school, the federation and the ministry proposed to my parents to send me to France to continue swimming at a higher level.
Okay.
And then my parents were like, okay, if you want, you can go. We're not going to keep you here. And imagine for a family, like the only girl, and I was spoiled, like to say the least. I mean, I never did anything by myself. But then I'm like, I wanted to go and I wanted to try that experience. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And until today, I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I wasn't even 15. Like my birthday's in September and I moved there like beginning of September.
Okay.
So, and I just found myself by myself, like just in the middle of a country that I've never traveled to. I didn't know. I mean, I knew the language, but I mean, I didn't speak French fluently at that point, because we just study French. I mean, Tunisia is a French-speaking country, but we learn it at school as normal. You know, Arabic was our first language, and until then, everything was taught in Arabic. Like math, physics, everything, science, everything Arabic. So I go there, I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this?
Different culture, different language,
different everything. And I mean, oh my God. And my dad took me to that trip. My mom didn't want to go. She was like, if I go, I'll bring you back.
Yeah, I can imagine. What you're saying, like, imagine if I do this with my daughter, like, I highly doubt.
Yeah, and I was very attached to my parents. And I mean, I was like their only daughter. I was the princess of the house. And then my dad goes with me. He stayed with me for 3 days. Like, he still says it until today. He was like, from the day he was traveling, since he woke up in the morning, he said, I prayed, and then I waited for you till you wake up, and then he was crying the whole day until he got to Tunisia. And then he was like, I'm on the plane saying, how could you do that to your daughter? Like, how can you leave your heart and just go back and go, you know? And for me, I don't know how I got the strength that day when my dad was just like saying bye and leaving. I was in class. He came to see me like in lunch break. So I just kissed him, I hugged him, and I turned around and I left. And I was with like a couple of friends, and I just left. I didn't want to have any emotions. I didn't want to show anything. And I don't know how I got that strength. And then he left, and I went back to class. I finished my day. But then, Saf, you cannot imagine, I was crying every night. I would cry every night. I was so homesick. Like, I've never done that before. Yeah. Like, I just traveled for competitions, like a couple of competitions. We just started traveling when I was 13, when I joined, like, high school. But I've never been away from my parents for that long. And then when they called me, I just dry my eyes, and then I'm like, I start laughing, and I'll be like, I'm fine, I'm okay, everything is good, everything is cool, it's amazing here, blah, blah, blah. But I was not okay. I was not. And then I made it even harder for myself, because I was living in a, like, internat. So مبيت يعني. But the problem with that internat is that I couldn't train in the morning, and I mean in Tunisia I was training morning and afternoon at that point.
Following the schedule,
Exactly, and we were kids. Like they said, if you're a minor, you cannot just leave in the morning and do whatever you want. So I was like, okay, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying in these dormitory. I'm just gonna move out and live by myself. So I can train in the morning.
How old are you?
I was still 15. It was a couple of months after I moved. And I took that decision. I called my parents. I'm like, listen, this is not going to work because I'm under training now. I'm not getting better. Yeah. I'm just like, it's not going to work. So I need to progress. I need to move out. So they moved me into like a sports center, kind of. It was like a hotel, but it was for athletes.
Okay.
But the center was closing in the weekend. So they would close the center from the outside and leave me inside, because that was the only solution to do that. And then I would leave from like the side door to go. And the only restaurant that was open in the weekend, like in the place that I was living at, is the McDonald's. Oh my God. After I moved from that town, I never ate McDonald's for like probably like 10 years, because I was so like done with like salads and I was just eating salads. I couldn't eat burgers all the time. But it was it was amazing. That's why I always say, whatever you live, don't regret anything you lived or you've been through, or it's all experiences. It makes you who you are today, and it makes you the person you are. So whether it's a good experience or a bad experience or a mix of both, just take it and just learn from it. Learn what you can learn from it. If it's a mistake, don't make it again. But if it's a good thing, just take it and move forward and use it for your good. So yeah, it was a good experience, but I didn't progress I stayed in that town for 2 years. It was on the German border. It's called Mulhouse. So it's in the Alsace region.
Okay.
But it was for 2 years. I didn't really like it because I was training with older people, very much older than me. They were in the national. Athlete, they were in the elite national French team.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but for me, like the 15-year-old young girl, I needed more attention. I needed a different kind of like a different kind of training. And that thing was because, so my parents didn't know where to send me, and the federation didn't have the experience to choose the right place for me.
I see.
So they said, because in France, the system is you have a Pôle Espoir and you have a Pôle France. So they said, okay, we're going to send you to a Pôle France. Maybe it's better than a Pôle Espoir. But at my age, I should have been in a Pôle Espoir in the first place.
Which is
like, it's junior and then you have the senior. So they sent me directly to a senior, which was not a good thing for me because I was training with very fast people and I was still young. So
put a lot of pressure on you, regardless.
It did. And I mean, the coach cannot take care of a 15-year-old, and he has like world champions and French and European national champions, and they were like, they were older than me, so they were done with high school. They were like in university. So what did I do? What would you think Sarah did after 2 years and not satisfied with what she was doing?
She left.
She did.
It's like
she decided to leave
somewhere else.
To move somewhere else. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. I just moved from the east to the extreme west, to Brittany. It's en Bretagne, Brest. The city is called Brest. It's really like the last point in France before the UK.
Okay.
I mean, I did my research. At that point, I started to know the centers in France, and I did my research. But that summer, when I decided to move, I didn't tell anyone, but I went home for the summer holidays, and then I started making phone calls to France. I would close the door in my parents' room and I start making phone calls to different training centers.
You built up confidence and like,
and
I can manage it.
Exactly. And I mean, because I knew no one was going to help me and no one had the experience. Like my parents didn't know. And the federation, for them, I needed to perform. Like I needed to perform in that center.
Yeah.
And for them, it was no, and they didn't know either, you know? So I needed to take care of that by myself, for myself, to actually do better. So yeah, I would go into my parents' room, I close the door, and I start making phone calls. And at some point, my mom felt, she came into the room, she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to find another training center. She's like, no, you're not. You're staying where you're at. You need to get better there. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get better there. I need to move from there.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, either I move or I stop swimming. You choose. And it was a big fight with my mom at some point.
Yeah.
And my mom doesn't remember it. When I remind her now, she's like, really? Did you do that? Did I say this?
It's big for you, not big for her, obviously.
No. So, I mean, my mom has been through a lot. She's not going to remember that, you know, for me. I'm a kid. I remembered that because it was a big fight with my mom.
True.
And you know, as much as swimming means to me, I was ready to stop if she wouldn't let me move.
Yeah.
So, at some point, a coach answered me and he's like, yeah, Sarah, yes. And they actually wanted me to come with them 2 years ago. And the federation didn't send me. And they were really wanting me when they saw my times and they saw my performances, they wanted me. So I was like, okay, it's never too late. It's better now than never, you know. So I went back to Mulhouse, packed my bags, went to Strasbourg, took the train and crossed the whole country and moved to Brest. I found the coach waiting for me. Everyone was like, bouche bée, as we say in French. It's like, they were just looking, what are you doing? Like, why and how? And like, how come?
Yeah.
I was like, no, you will see. Just wait. I'm gonna be good.
But you found your element there. Like, you found yourself.
I moved and it was the best move I've done in my career so far. Yeah. The coach was, I clicked with my coach. He was a young coach. He was just 10 years older than me. He was like, I think a silver medalist at the Olympics. He was in the national team. He just stopped swimming like a little while ago. Okay. And we clicked. Like he understood how I functioned. I understood like what he exactly what he needed from me. And we had ups and downs and he was really like pushing me because at that point, I needed someone to really believe in me and push me and say that, like, even if I think things I cannot do, he would, like, make me do them. And he did that. Like, Joanne was really one of the best coach in my life. And I will always be, like, it's just he's a special person in my life because he really did things and he helped me get to things that I wouldn't think like I would have done without him.
I love the fact that you figured out your path.
Yeah.
And you found yourself in that.
Yeah. And you know, like at that young age, it's just like, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not.
Imagine, like in the teens. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, yeah, when I look now and I see like kids, like when they're 15 or 16, what they do or what, like, I mean, and their, you know, their interest, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have that. You know, I didn't have that luxury of thinking of those things, or I needed to take care of myself. I didn't have anyone to take care of me. And you know, at that young age, you go into a different country, you're living on your own. You could go rogue. You could go
Absolutely.
the completely opposite way, and no one knows. Stuff, I used to like call my mom to go out with my friends. I would call my mom and be like, Mom, I'm going out. It's not because I had to or I needed to, but it was, that's my upbringing. That's how they taught me. And alhamdulillah, I mean, I had the best education. Like, it's just, even if I didn't live with my parents for that long, it was just only 15 years. Not like, I mean, normal kids that stay with their parents for longer,
wow,
you know?
15 years.
Exactly.
So the principles and the values, you carry them all together.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So I'm always thankful and recognizable, and I always say alhamdulillah, because honestly, what I had from my parents and that like base that they gave me is just, I'm taking it. It's that foundation. I'm taking it with me, and it's taken me places. So
but what I really loved about this is like when you were 15 years old, which is like still young in a totally different environment, but it seems that because of these values and principles, they were really the foundation to take the right decision.
Yeah.
And on top of that, of course, you are in the trajectory to become an athlete, so you already have this mindset. And not to mess around, and you're passionate about the sport. So you moved, and then after that, you started to compete on official level, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was competing internationally since before, because we started compete for the national team when we were 13. Like when we finish primary school, and we have something in Tunisia called lycée sportif. It's for athletes. It's a lycée for athletes. It's a high school for athletes.
Okay.
So it's really the elite of the country in individual sports. They move to that high school because our times are arranged. Yeah. So we train in the morning, we study during the day, and then we train in the afternoon. And everything is made for athletes. It's like it's an elite center in Tunisia. But then I finished the first 3 years in there, which is middle school, and then I finished 9e and I moved to France. So since I started in the 7th year, which is 7e année primaire, middle school, I started competing internationally. Okay. But it was just like, you know, it was junior Mediterranean championships, it was Arab championships, like age group Arab championships. But then when I moved to Brest in 2007 and 2008, that was the first time I was competing in France. And then those 2 years were the best 2 years, like really, because again, I had a breakthrough during those 2 years. So until then, I was good, but I was not as good as I wanted to be. Yeah. But when I started training with Joanne and Brest, so I did 2008 was the Olympic year. Okay. I mean until then I was not thinking about the Olympics. I was still studying. I mean I was a kid in high school and just going through high school and doing my life. Yeah. But then that year I started doing really good performances, because I had a good cycle with that coach. So I qualified for short course world championships. It was my first qualification for world championships. Okay. In 2008. So it was in March 2008. It was in Manchester. So I traveled to Manchester. It was out of this world. Like that experience for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm at world championships.
It's a bigger stage.
It is. It's a huge move from there, you know. And I broke my records. I broke Tunisian records in that competition. Nice. I was competing against the best of the best in the world in short course, like 25 meters. So, and then right after that, I had French nationals. Mm-hmm. So I had to from Manchester, I flew to Barcelona. We had a training camp, and then we had French nationals in the south of France. And in that competition, I was a breaststroker, as I told you. Yeah. So I swim breaststroke and IM. I swam the 200 breaststroke. I broke the Tunisian record by 10 seconds. And I got really close to the
Olympics. And that range, I think it's
that's really big. That's a lot. Like 10 seconds. I mean, people go down by like 2 seconds, 1 second, 3 seconds. Yeah, but 10 seconds, it was like, wow. So because I was on like going, like it's just, I was just moving forward. Yeah. So and I was 6th overall in the French national championship. And but I couldn't qualify to the finals because they have a rule in France that only 2 international athletes can qualify. So they give chance for French people to swim in the finals. And I was the 3rd international. So, and I remember I did 2:34 and the Olympic qualification was 2:33. I got really close. It was 1 second from the Olympic qualification time. And until then, I was not like, I was at 2:43 before. It was too far. Like I was not even thinking about that. And I was out of that world. When I touched the wall and I look at my time, I'm like, oh my God, no one was believing. There was a girl who used to train with me in Mulhouse. She looked and she didn't believe. Like she's way older than me. I was like 17 at that point and she was like 26, 27. And she was like, no, that's not okay. Like my friend from the other team, she came to me, she's like, she didn't believe that you did that because I beat her.
Wow.
And like I was top 6 and it was like 3 international athletes. So in France, I was like, I had the 3rd time in France. So, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and I went and I hugged Joanne and I'm like, oh my God, we did it. We did this. And both of us couldn't believe that because now this is what we're working for. This is what we have been working for that time. Yeah. And then, so we do that. And then French junior nationals were like a month later. And like, I mean, no surprise.
It's not my group anymore.
I won the French national junior championships. Yeah. So I came first in the 200 breaststroke. I came second in the 200 IM. And I did really good. But then, so I was really training, but like, it's just the Olympics were still like something that I was not really thinking about. Yeah. It's even if I got really close, but I was in my last year of high school too. I was in terminal. Yeah. So I had to really balance between those two. And I did another thing in education too. Like I never leave things normal.
Obviously, I'm trying to see what did you do with your education?
So with my education, I moved from Mulhouse to Brest, okay? Yeah. And I did my second, and so I did my second in Mulhouse because I did 2 years. So I did troisième and second in Mulhouse, and when I moved, I only had 2 years left in high school. Okay. So I had première and terminale. So you do a seconde générale in France, in the French system. You do it's a general, it's a scientific one, and then you choose.
Scientifique, mathématique.
Exactement. So it's like you go scientific or literature or ES, which is economic and social. So for me, I did a première S. Okay, which is scientific. So you have physics, you have biology, and you have mathematics. Okay. I loved math. It's just like I was so good at math.
I failed miserably in the 3 of them. Please carry on.
So that première, when I did it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So that's the thing. I didn't like the première that I did. I hated physics and I liked chemistry, but I hated physics. Okay. It didn't go. And it was also hard for me because I did everything in Arabic in Tunisia. And then I only had like the transfer for like 2 years to move everything to French. We used to write like right to left. And now I had to write like in physics and math and everything left to right.
Especially this
stuff. Yeah. But I was always a good student. And I wanted to be a good student. So for me, it was not like I couldn't just like give up on my education. And I loved it. I mean, it's one thing that I love is my education. So what to do, Sarah?
Now I'm interested to see. Okay, you love swimming and you love education. I'm expecting a luck.
What can we do?
A big switch.
So we didn't like première. What to do? I had 2 choices. So if I wanted to move to another branch, either littéraire or economic and social, I had to repeat the year. I had to go again in première.
The whole curriculum is different.
Exactly, the whole curriculum is different. I didn't want to repeat the year. So what do I do?
Yeah.
I go to the head of the school. Okay. And I get an appointment with her. I sit with her. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna be like, we're gonna put exactly open. I don't want to repeat the year. I'm gonna go. You're gonna get me into terminal. You're gonna let me do it. A terminal ES, which is economic and social. I'm gonna do specialty math. So we're dropping, So it's SP math. So we drop the physics and the biology, and then there is a new one which is so we had economy. We study economy and sociology. So there were like two things that I didn't do in première, and I'm like way behind in that. And the French, so the French language, French is completely different between ES and S, because the scientific people they don't focus a lot on that. So exactly, it's they do less. So the economic and social, they do more of the French literature and the French, and philosophy was different too. But I was like, no. So please let me do that terminal. Give me one trimester, because in high school it's a trimester system. So I'm like, give me one trimester. If I don't prove myself, take me back to première. But please give me that chance to prove myself and to show you that I can do a terminal ES even if I did the première S.
And you nailed it, obviously.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't repeat the year. I was first in my class.
Oh my God. Okay, even though.
Yeah, and I did spé math. And you know, like at the end of high school, like in terminal, I had 19 and a half out of 20 in the math exam. Amazing. In the last math exam, because I loved math, and it was like I understood it and I loved it. And then so I had like, I think like my total at the end of high school, and I was in Tunisia, like my friend called me from, and you know, they put everything on a board and you have to go. It's really like it's a different experience, you know. So my friend calls me and she's like, Sarah, you're accepted. I'm like, okay, I know I'm accepted. I know I passed, but tell me like what was my score? And I think I had like mention très bien in high school. I think that's like 15 or 16 out of 20.
Okay.
So yeah, and I was in heaven. So
it's obvious that you have this kind of determination and overcoming challenges.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm too hard on myself too, and because you know, I don't like to say I'm an overachiever, because that's not a positive word. That's like a kind of a negative word. I feel like, but I like to do things the right way. I don't like to do things half-ass. Excuse my French. But but yeah, it's really like when I get into something, I like to do it right, and I like to do it till the end. If I know I'm not gonna be able to do something, like I don't do it in the first place. I try. Don't get me wrong. Like it's always important to try things, because if you don't try, you will never know if you're good at something or not unless you try it. But when I get into something and I put my head into it, I really like to do it the right way and go till the end. Like I try to do my best, and I try to achieve it as best as I can.
Yeah.
So
it was obvious when you the interesting part that when you decide on something, you figure it out by yourself, and you didn't. Of course, you have the support from the family, but it's obvious that you take things by your hands.
But because, you know, and I didn't have my parents with me, and that's one of the things now, you know, it's hard to actually let go of some things or try to have someone support, because I never had that. Like I had to take care of myself. I had to do things by myself. Like Sarah was the mom, the dad, the athlete, the student, you know, the caretaker for Sarah, for myself, but I didn't have a choice. It's, you know, it's not by choice. So now it is a little bit hard for me to just let go of things, or to just like relax and be like, okay, someone, like I can like let someone help me, or I never had that shoulder to lay on. I never had that, you know. So
is it because you're conditioned this way? Because I feel with you, because when you reach a point actually in your uprising, especially as a teenager, and you become basically you're doing things by yourself, you reach a point that how come I did not have someone that supports me in the journey, physically, emotionally, whatever. But it seems that you are already conditioned this way.
I mean, I had to. because I didn't have the you know, I didn't have the luxury to just sit back and wait for someone to do it for me.
Which is a good thing at the same time.
It's an amazing thing. And that's, I mean, I'm independent now. I do things by myself. But sometimes, you know, it's nice to have someone with you. It's nice to just, have someone help out. So
how are you reflecting on this now? It's like, I'm interested to know.
In what sense?
In
every sense.
In any sense that you think it's viable.
No, it's an amazing thing. It's because I know I can do things, but you know, some things cannot be done by one person. You cannot do everything by yourself. So that's one of the things that could have been different if I had a bigger support system. Because at some point because all of this, I'm still an amateur athlete. Like I was an amateur athlete. I was never a professional athlete. Like I didn't work as an athlete, you know, because here we have a different understanding of professional athletes or like professionalism in sports. We don't have it here. We really it's a sad thing, but we don't understand it in our region as having an athlete working. Like that's their office. Going to training is their office hours. But in order to be able to do that, you have to have a support system around you.
True.
You have to have people who just are specialized in doing the other stuff for you. So you're an athlete, you only focus on your training, on your recovery, on eating well, sleeping well, being in the right mindset, but you have to have that big group of people who you have to have an agent to take care of sponsorship. You have to have the nutritionist. You have to have a mental, person. I mean, a mental doctor to help you through that. You have to have a physiotherapist. You have to have a doctor. You have to have a coach. Like, you know, it's all those things. But here, we don't have it. And that's one of the things that I didn't have. And I try now as an older and a more mature athlete to help younger athletes get that support system, because I didn't have it. And I know how much it hurts to not have that, because it just restricts you to go beyond what you can do. And that's the difference, why athletes European athletes or American or Australian or in other countries, they have that system. They have it's a whole, it's not, it didn't start yesterday. It's been there. It's something that it's natural for them. It's just, it flows.
It's a team structure.
It is. So exactly. So they understand it. So athletes go very far in their careers. Here, athletes in the region, we really have to work harder to get where we want to get. So it is a little bit complicated.
We had a discussion last time about the differences when it comes to the whole support system, but how this emotionally impacted your mental health, because with all of this you have achieved wonderful.
Alhamdulillah.
And I cannot say you're not a high achiever. It's unfair, to be honest. Especially that also you have world record, Guinness record.
Yeah.
So I know we always celebrate the achievement, but we don't know
the work behind it.
The work behind it and the mental and the physical effort.
Yeah.
So take me a little bit about your mental challenge to start with and your training regimen, because it seems, especially as a swimmer.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about any sport. Swimming is one of them. And I know that it requires a lot of effort. Sometimes it's boring.
It's very boring. I mean, swimming is it's not about boring, but it's a lonely sport. It's, we talked, as I told you, you were yeah, that's true, actually. when you say it this way, you have your head in the water and you're doing lengths, back and forth for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And the only time you interact with someone is when you're stopping at the wall and you talk to your teammates. Or your coach is explaining something, but it's really when you're actually training and swimming, you're just going back and forth, and you have no idea that just the songs, the ideas that come into your head, you can write a whole book while you're swimming and you're training. Yeah. So it's a tough sport. It's really, really a tough sport mentally. And not only swimming, sports in general, when you're at a certain level, when you get to a certain level, it's really it's hard on your mental, and it's you have to be very strong mentally. That's why athletes are usually very strong mentally, But we go through a lot. We go through a lot of ups and downs, and then you see like now because it's in the forefront and athletes are more talking more about mental health and the importance of mental health, but it's always been there. I mean, when I tell you when I was 15, I was homesick, that's mental. When athletes go through depression, and it's not something that everyone talks about, or because especially here in our region,
it's even worse here too.
It is even worse because we have it's a taboo, it's a story, it's a prejudice that only crazy people go to mental doctor or go to like psychologist. It's a shame. So people don't actually like to talk about it, but it's not true.
It's bad.
It's really bad. It is. So it's not true, because to be at that level, you really have to zone out. You have to just be living in a different world than the world that actual people your age are living in, because you have to make a lot of sacrifices, and sometimes those sacrifices catch up to you. Because if you're training, and we have a really hard training regimen, like when I was at university. So in high school, I told you, we train in the morning, we study in during the day, and then we train in the afternoon. In college, it was even more, because sometimes you had training at 4 a.m. in the morning, because the coaches wants to break us mentally. They make us wake up that early in the morning just to make a point and to make us stronger too, So sometimes you had to train at 4 a.m. Imagine yourself getting out of your bed. So if you have training at 4 a.m., imagine what time you have to wake up. And we get in that cold water at 4 a.m. in the morning, and you just have to do a session as well as you can and as good as you can. And then you just change quickly, you get breakfast, and then you go get your classes, you catch the classes, and then you have another training in the afternoon. So in the US, when I was in college, we used to train so we had 1 hour of dry land session from 3 to 4, and then we train from 4 to 6.
Okay.
And then you go out, you have to go and just catch up with your class and with your schoolwork, and then so it's a hard regiment. It's like you're in the military, and other people, they could go out with friends, they plan weekends, it's different. You cannot plan ahead because you don't know if you have a competition in the weekend or not.
True.
You cannot go out because you have to wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning. You whenever you can rest, you just take that rest, because you don't have the luxury of just resting in other times, So we didn't have a social life.
That's actually I was going to tap into this, because we as humans, we need the social life at least to this kind of emotion release, to speak with friends, to go out. Yeah,
our social life was really between us. It's a small group. So because if you're not an athlete, you don't understand that. You don't understand. Now, until today, I still have people tell me, why are you doing that to yourself? So I'm I'm not doing this to myself. I'm enjoying it. Now it's less. I still have a regiment, but it's not as harsh, and it's not as hard as what I used to do in college and in high school. But still, people don't understand. I don't have my friend circle is very limited because of that. I don't like to be blamed. Not because I cannot go out, or I cannot plan ahead a month ahead or 2 weeks ahead. It's every week is different for me, and every day is different for me. And sometimes competitions just pop out,
Yeah.
It's especially the planning of the competitions, it depends on what sport you do. Sometimes a week before, the coach tells you, okay, you have a competition this weekend.
Okay.
And your friends made plans months ago for that weekend to go out. And just so at least personally for me, I don't like to be blamed, and I don't want to go through that blaming phase of friends blaming you. Why are you not going out? Why are you canceling last minute? It's not last minute, but that's my life. That's how things work. So that's why my friend circle is limited. I have acquaintances, but friends, real friends, it's just a small group of people that actually can understand. And even them, they cannot understand it fully, because for them, why is Sarah doing that to herself? Why are you keep suffering? Why you keep just torturing your body? For what?
That's true. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's the feeling, only athletes can understand that feeling of satisfaction when you go through hell, and just literally it's hell, and then but when you get to where you want to and you reach that goal and you achieve that performance, whether it doesn't have to be a medal, it doesn't have to be a podium, but even if it's a race that you were training for and planning to go to, and then you do it and you reach that finish line, then the satisfaction and the pride and exactly, it's surreal. You cannot explain it with words. It's just a feeling.
Yeah, I can reflect for a lot of points you just mentioned, but what really drew my attention when it comes to the friends, I wouldn't put that much, maybe it's maturity, but I wouldn't put the pressure to get the blame. This is my lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you want to follow it,
exactly.
Join me, you're most welcome. You're not, voila.
But some people feel it's rude. Like some people take it personally.
That's the wrong mindset.
Exactly. But some people take it personally. So I don't like to be rude, like taken as rude. I'm not rude, but like some people take it as rude or take it as selfish. It's not selfish. It as you said, it is my lifestyle. It is the way I live my life. I like to do sports instead of going out. I like to just go like sit by the beach and not do anything and just listen to music instead of just like, jumping around or doing something, So
you attract your own tribes by the end of the day. It needs some effort.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't put that much of pressure.
But it is hard on relationships too.
Yeah, I was going to tap into this.
I know you're just burning to talk about.
Yeah, but, tell me about it. Since you mentioned this, like I don't want to tell it, but yeah, tell me about it. I know it's tough, unless, but
it's hard, Saf. I mean, for male athletes, it's different. It's easier. It's definitely much easier for a guy to be an athlete than a woman to be an athlete. And not everyone understands that. Like, I've been hearing and listening to these, like, phrases or, like, sentences that people say since I'm 20. I'm 33 now, okay? So since I'm 20, I have people telling me, why are you doing this? Just go get married and get a life. Because for them, sports is not a life. Being an athlete is not a life. It's just you're and then a couple years later, you're too old for this. You're again, go get a life, go get married, go find a husband. And I still hear that until today. But now you just develop a kind of like it doesn't get there, like it doesn't get to you anymore. It just hits and bounces back. It's like there's like a wall or like it's just an invisible wall that doesn't matter. Like for me, it doesn't affect me anymore as much as it affected me. So imagine, it affected me when I was 20, but it doesn't affect me now that I'm 33, even though I'm older, but I'm more mature, I'm wiser. I filter what I hear. I don't just take everything personally. Okay, they said it, what? Okay, and then what? Like, okay, let them talk, let them say what they want to say. Everyone is free to express themselves.
Opinions.
Exactly. But I do what I feel is good for me and what I think is good for me.
Believe me, you will get better the more you...
Exactly. The older you are, the more just like stable and the more calm you are. So it doesn't affect you as much. But it's sad because people... We have those stereotypes and we have those boxes that we put people in. And when we cannot just pinpoint and put that person in that box, we feel like something is wrong with them. And I'm a mystery to people. I like being a mystery. I don't know if you saw my last post, but that's what I wrote. It's like really, because I mean, we're in like Women's History Month and we're in International Women's Day. But really, like, I just want women and female to just be themselves and don't try to fit in a box. Don't try to just be something that other people want you to be.
Yeah.
Because it's who you are. If they accept it, good. If they don't accept it, because, you cannot change for someone. And it's just change because you want to change, but don't change because someone else wants you to change. Because if you're not convinced with that change, at some point you're not gonna keep it. You're not. It's not gonna relate to you anymore, and you're gonna drop it at some point. So why go through that from the beginning? So, and yeah, just be different, be weird. Let them call you weird. Let them call you different. Let them call you a mystery or whatever, like any name that they put. I like being called like that.
Yeah, don't worry. These are attractive attributes. Huh?
Okay.
Weirdness and like...
Yeah, and so yeah, and I like, so if people are like, I have some people that talk to me, like that come up to me, if they're not shy to say things, they would say it the way they are, and they say, yeah, it's just we don't know how to, you know, how to just like, how to say that,
Model
like,
it.
exactly,
Position it
like how to position you or where to position you, or and some people don't say it, but I see it in their eyes, I see it in their reaction, I see it. So but I love it, like when I shock someone, I mean in a good way, I like shocking people, because we have to be different. We cannot, it would be so boring if everyone is the same, and if we all are like the same and we all do the same things and we think the same way, it would be so boring.
Yeah.
The world cannot be like that.
So
be the different, be the outlier.
We need to break the social conditioning that we were going
Exactly.
through. Of course,
Yeah.
with all what's happening now when it comes to the cultural and social changes, I'm not talking about these extremes, but at least when it comes to the independence, regardless if you are a male or female,
Yeah.
I think this is where we need to break the taboos and the cultural aspect, because it's not giving us the right environment to excel in certain thing.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but I think we are moving in the direction. But most importantly, the people that they went on that journey, they need to speak out.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what I see you as a really good example.
But we have to have the place,
platform.
exactly, the platform. Yeah.
And this is the beauty of, we talked about it, that to make sure that we are opening this platform to make sure that
the real people talk.
Doubling down. But the point that you were a teenager,
Yeah.
you left your country, you left your family, and you've been in a journey, and it was impressive because you did not divert to a negative path. You excelled and you achieved amazing stuff. High achiever. I will give you that.
Oh.
But what's the best advice you can give for a teenager now, as Sarah, that she went through that? What's the advice that you can give?
Okay, everyone is different, okay? And what worked for me doesn't have to work for someone else. And what worked for someone else not necessarily would work for me. Mm-hmm. But what I would advise like teenagers now is really to just find what they like and find themselves in all this noise. Because as you said, like the world is changing, everything is changing, but to be authentic and to be different is a good thing, and to find their like what they like and what they like to do is very important, because once you know what you want, I mean it's I know it's just like a little bit like too high to say you find what you like as a teenager, but just at least find things that you're interested in, and exactly find things you're interested in and try to just like dig deeper in those things that you're interested in, and then like your path will just get like, I mean will just be drawn by itself if you really have things to do and have like not hobbies but have interests, because it's important to have interests. Like you cannot just go with the flow, and you cannot just be a teenager and do what teenage kids do, you know. It's good to be a leader even at that age, even if it's a different definition of leadership at that age. It's good to be someone that people actually look up to, even at that age, because you don't have to be an adult. You don't have to have a million titles to be a leader, because you can be a leader even at that young age. And if you start putting yourself in that position at that age, when you grow up, it will grow with you. I mean, I'm thankful. I'm very blessed that I have been in that position, and I've been through that path that I've had, because even if like, I mean, I took the decision, and my parents gave me the choice if I wanted to go or stay at home, but I wanted to go, and I wanted to have that experience, and I wanted to be like, to lead that change for like, I mean, for Arabs, for Tunisians, for like, just to say that, I mean, not only boys can leave their houses and their homes and what they're comfortable with and go and try to find themselves outside of their country. No, even girls can do that.
Yeah.
And believe me, in a Tunisian society, I mean, people always think that Tunisian society is more open than the rest of the Arab world.
Yeah.
But still, we're a Muslim country, we're an Arab country, we still have that
Our
family, exactly, the values and an attachment to the family. And alhamdulillah, we have that. I mean, in the whole Arab world, we have that attachment to the family because family values is important.
Love it, yes.
But just to just be taken from that, and I mean by choice, and go and try to find yourself at that young age, it didn't hurt me. It made me who I am today.
It's courage.
Exactly, and it really made me who I am today, and I'm so thankful for my parents because that they gave me that choice. They gave me that freedom to choose if I wanted to go. So and that on itself is really a privilege, and it's really a blessing to have my parents, like to have parents like my parents. So but yeah, it's really important to make choices even when you're young at a different level, at a lower level. But yeah, be a leader in what you do and with like who you are, because and you can lead in different ways, you know. You don't have to be doing crazy things, or you know, because each age has its own things and its beauty, you know. So exactly, yeah, and I mean, teenagers should just embrace their teenage age and what I mean, with the difficulties and with the good things that come with it too. But just be different. Just
very sound advice. Again, it's we have something that I relate to with my teenager. But now, if you have a bigger platform to voice out this experience.
But before that, I'll go back to, because we didn't talk about relationship, and we just said that.
Okay.
No, but we just said that it's easier for a man
yes.
to, you know, like it's easier for male athlete than female athlete, because we always have that stereotype on female athletes that go get a life and go get married, because for us, that's the path.
Okay.
At a certain age, you need to get married and you need to have a family. But what I want to say, it's really like, this doesn't go against that. You can be an athlete, you can be an amazing athlete and an amazing mom and an amazing businesswoman, and I mean, they can go together. Like, you just have to... I don't see the
conflict here.
Exactly, you just have to find the balance. You just have to know how to balance everything in your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting married doesn't mean that you cannot be an athlete. And we have a lot of female athletes now that show that every day. And that's the good thing about the Western countries, is that in triathlon, I'll give you an example. In triathlon, a lot of the professional triathletes, they're women and they have kids. They just stop for to give birth, and then they go back, and they go back stronger, because now they just they want to inspire their kids. They want to show their kids that they can be moms, but they can also be athletes. So
the same as you. I'm trying to reflect on exactly the way you were raised.
Yeah. So family. Why can't we do it? Exactly. I mean, it's honestly, that's why we say we need to change the narrative. We need in our region, because we have some given ideas that are not true, but because they're consumed, that people think that they're the right way to go about things. But no, you can be an athlete and you can be married and happily married, and your husband, have a supportive husband that will support you in your career, as he can support you in your business career. He can support you in your athletic career, you know.
I don't see any point of conflict in that. And
exactly.
Of course, it's an outdated way of thinking.
Yeah, and age too. Age is the other thing. Olympic rowers are 40 years old. You don't get to that high and peak of the level in rowing until the age of 40. So each sport is different. Yes, for example, swimming is you get your peak at a younger age.
Okay.
But then it depends on the sport you go to. But here in our region, we have a problem with age. So especially for women. So men, they can do whatever they want until a certain age.
Even on the man, sometimes you put
exactly.
40,
exactly. Yeah. But then for women, it's even worse, because for them, a woman that is like in her 30s or in her 35s or in her 40s. So each age they have a specific box for each age, and you cannot do certain things because you're a certain age. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. And honestly, Saf, that's why I keep doing what I do. I don't do it now for the medals or for the trophies or for the recognition, but I do it just to show that it can be done. I'm a normal human being. Yes, women, we have superpowers. We are women, so it's just a superpower to be a woman.
I'll give you the credit.
But it's really,
true.
If I can do it, anyone can do it, because you have to go through certain steps to get where you want to be.
Yeah,
and
true.
anything you put your head into, you can achieve. Like, you have no idea how strong we are as humans. We can do whatever we want, but we just need to work towards it. So age, it's nothing. It's just a number.
I love this message.
Yeah,
Again,
so just embrace your age and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to start anything. And that's why, like, I started rowing when I was 28, and I think I told you the story about rowing. So it's
a lot of inspirational points, I would say, and point of view. If I give you a bigger platform or a place where you can deliver this message, how would you take it? Because what you're doing I think is in a very inspirational way, trying to support at least the aspired athletes.
Yeah.
But what do you think that if you have all the resources available, what's the thing that you can do to make sure that we drive this narrative in the right direction?
Honestly, okay, so my, like, the thing that I really fight for is female athletes and women empowerment more into the sports world, and also like sport as a change, like for a change, because sport can change lives. And I mean, I've had it personally, like I had the experience with it. It really, like, at some point I was at the lowest points of my life, and I had, like, the only thing that I had is sport, and it got me back on my feet, and it got me back just like to fight and to just be back and then get back onto what I was doing and just like survive what I was going through. So sport can be that. Like, it's not only, like, sport is not only you don't just do sport just to be healthy, or it's a good thing. Like, you can do sport to be healthy.
True.
You can do sport at a high level to be like an athlete and an elite athlete. Like, there are different levels in sports, like elite, and then you have age group, and then you have just recreational athlete, like recreational people who do just sports as a community, like a lifestyle and community sports. But it's not only that. It's not just for the health. It's not just for the performance. It can be life-saving. It can save lives. And it can also be change. It can drive change. So really, this is what I want to put out there, is that sports is more than sport. It can be transferable to other just areas it can. I mean, now companies see in athletes what they didn't see before, and athletes are more hireable now. Like, a lot of companies hire athletes, and there are specific, like, companies that actually specialize in helping athletes get hired after their career, because now they understood the importance of athletes and the importance of sport into people's life, because it teaches you a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And hiring athletes now is in the forefront of big companies, multinational companies, because now they know that if you hire an athlete, you can be sure that athlete is going to perform in your company and is going to give you what probably a normal person cannot give, or will give it to you, like, better and in a better way. And then, like, again, going back to, like, women empowerment through sports, because it can change lives. It can, and it's not about like making women do the same things as men. Yeah. I'm not a person that really believe in that, because a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and there are limits to each of the genders. But it's more about equal chances and equal opportunities for women.
Equities.
It's just give the woman the opportunity to prove herself into sports. We're not saying we want to do the exact same things. We want to say, we're not saying that we want to compete in the same categories as men. Mm-hmm. Like, a woman has
her things and a man has their things. But give her the opportunity, give her the chance to prove herself, the opportunity, the platform to prove herself.
True.
And you will see wonders. Like, women can do wonders, and it's good now that the change is happening, and female sports and female empowerment into sports is being at the forefront. But we're still a little bit like, we're not there yet. But it's good that it's happening and it's moving forward.
I love it, and again, I believe these things will happen driven by you.
Oh,
and again,
thank you.
You have again, I was blessed with a lot of like amazing guests coming, and we had this conversation, and some of them, they are athletes with families.
Yeah.
And I think this message is really important.
Yeah.
Not to have this kind of like replica of what's happening in the West, but at least because we have the capabilities, we have the resources.
Yes.
But the mindset should be changed, I think.
And we are our own, you know, we don't have to copy any, like, as you said, we don't have to copy the West, we don't have to copy anyone.
No.
We are, and we have our strength too that they don't have. And we just need to focus on those strengths.
Love
we
it.
need, you know, we have genes. You know, every sport has, like, I mean, certain nationalities are good at certain sports.
True.
But, you know, here we have genes that they don't have in other countries and in the whole region, in the whole MENA region. So we just have to focus on those strengths and to just be good at what we do.
Absolutely.
And
I don't know how to end this. I don't want to end it. But
we can talk, someone.
No, it's of course it's really a pleasure to have you here. We had this catch up on the coffee, and
we can't say everything, you know.
Yeah, no, but it's this conversation is really inspirational for me, especially that I'm a dad of 9 years old lady, and she's really inspired by it. And I'm blessed because she sees us as the parents doing this sport activity and putting us in certain challenges, and they are inspired. But I strongly believe sport is really a condensed version of life.
It is.
And what you just mentioned about the capability of the athletes in the real life, if you know, it is real life, but the example is really bad.
Yeah.
I strongly believe in it. It's when it comes to the mindset, the physical hardship, and the achievements.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be big achievement, but it is an achievement, and the stress that you get exposed to put you in any condition, and you will excel.
True.
I think this is an amazing summary, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
It will not be the last. And,
hopefully not.
I wish you all the best. If you
Thank
have
you.
the biggest opportunity to speak out more in that direction, you will create your own tribe, your people, and hopefully your
I mean, definitely. Honestly, I mean, you know, I'm not. Wallah, Saf, yani, I'm a normal person. I am, people, I am.
She's a normal, amazing person, not normal people.
No, but you know, like, but it's bad to say, but sometimes men are a little bit how to say, they don't like to approach strong women. I don't want to say the word that people say, but we are very approachable. I mean, I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking in general.
They call me alpha man, but seriously, I'm like.
And you know that it's just been proven that alpha men like alpha women. So.
Yeah, that's true. Just like us. You should meet my wife, by the way.
But it's honestly, it's just like sports just makes us it makes us stronger, and for women, it's even like more so because it helps us like prove things that probably we couldn't have proven without sports.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, it doesn't mean that I have my feminine side. You know, it's just I'm a normal person again. I don't know how else to say it, you know. But but no, yeah. So yeah, and I know you want to know about my future project, but I'm not gonna tell you about my future project.
Yeah, but you sensed it. Please go ahead.
No, honestly, you know, I have one thing is that I don't like to talk about my projects until they happen.
Okay.
So it kind of, you know, there's a hadith that says, واستعينوا على قضاء حاجاتكم بالكتمان. So it's good. It's not, we translate it into things are gonna be jinxed, but it's not really about that. It's really you should let your your achievements talk about you. You shouldn't talk about your achievements. So we always say actions are louder than words, and it's true. So it's I learned to do that, and it works wonders for me. And even sometimes I just I like to disappear a little bit and work on what I'm working on, and then just come back with what I've achieved, what I've done. It's better than talking and then not doing or not getting to what I want to do. But yeah, there are a couple of projects coming soon, inshallah, and they're definitely. It's just, again, what I'm trying to do now is really to inspire, to just show people that if you put your head into something and you work towards it, you can achieve it. Because when I do something, or when I work on a project, or I decide to do something, I try to do things that I haven't done before.
Yeah.
And to just surpass myself, and to just show that you really can pass your limits if you really want to. And that's the most important, because it is applicable in everything in life. Yeah. I do it through sport because I like to do what I love and to do what I know how to do. But it's to inspire people in different areas, is to just talk to people and get to people in different areas of life. But through sport.
It's like my mind is blown, actually.
Oh, thank you.
But seriously, it's like.
But it takes a lot. It takes things, and it takes a lot of preparation. And again, it takes sponsorship is one of the most important things that we don't understand here in the region. It's a little bit difficult. Especially for women, honestly. Even though brands are really saying, oh, we're empowering women, oh, we like to support women, but really when it comes to action and to putting action into the words, it's not yet there.
It's CSR, more like PR kind of.
Empowering. Yeah. So
but the meaning on ground.
Exactly, which is sad, because I mean, some things cannot be done without sponsorship. Some exactly. So and they can change they can change the narrative if they're allowed to. That's why I will probably just wrap up with that, is that I don't want to say that the best athletes in the world, they're good, they're amazing, and they're good at what they're doing. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not others. But the problem is they didn't get the resources, and they didn't get the opportunities that those athletes got.
Equal opportunities.
Exactly. So
system, as we discussed.
Exactly. So that's why, honestly, it's one of the missions that I love to work on, and that I'm trying to put out there for people to understand, is really we have amazing athletes here. We have amazing breeds of athletes, but if they get the right opportunities, if they get the right support, you will see our region go to a different level, go to the next level of performance in the performance side. Yeah,
I believe it's a tough journey. But again, as I mentioned a while ago, I think you are the right candidate to drive this forward. I'm serious. It's it's really important, and I'm really inspired, because we look into these activities. We talk about the sport, how our kids are related to this journey, and how basically they achieve, and how they look into things and put their mind into. I think it's inspired by not only from the west side, also from the local side. Of course. You have a lot of amazing people here.
Definitely.
That they don't have voice.
Definitely.
That's what's really triggered that, okay, how come and why we're not driving?
Yeah.
We can discuss about the sponsorship from the brand and the
big
direction.
Subject. It is. It's a huge subject.
It includes not only, of course, the empowerment of, I don't like to use the word empowerment, but facts first, the bigger picture, which is the sport itself, the culture of sport and athleticism, and then we can break it down between male and female. Yeah. But I will not ask you more. I wish you all the best. I know that you'll surprise us with these activities. Sarah, it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. And again, it will not be the last one.
Thank you.
We're going to grab coffee one day.
Yes.
And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, I
can do it with you next time.
Yeah,
I'll be next to you, and we'll have a host.
Yeah,
We'll be the host.
We can. It's I've been requested several times.
I talk a lot.
It's an amazing conversation. But seriously, some people, they ask me that. Someone one day should interview me for nothing. But
yeah, definitely. I'll interview you.
We'll do one in Arabic, by the way. I promise.
Okay, but I mean, you know, my only problem with Arabic is that I don't like to speak other Arabic like dialects, and I like to speak Tunisian.
Speak Tunisian because they told me that I don't try to mirror the dialect. It's just to speak the Lebanese.
Yeah.
It's more attractive.
Oh, but sometimes people don't understand. You know, our dialect is like the North African dialect, like Tunisian, Algerian, and Moroccan.
انت التونسي بتضلكم احسن بكثير من الجزائر وتونس.
صح.
مع احترامي لاصدقائي.
احنا لغتنا مفهومه اكثر. احنا نكملوها بالتونسي مش مشكله. ما احنا لغتنا مفهومه اكثر خاطر فيها اقل فرنسي وابطا. لكن احنا يقولوا نحن نغنيو يعني كي نحكيو ونغنيو بالغناء انه with the rhythm.
Sarah, it's a pleasure.
Thank
you very much. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Superhuman Switch. Get your switch on.
Yay.
Sarah, pleasure.
Thank you everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.